All right, on this podcast, we are going to be talking about another fucked up policy that's going to completely change the landscape of a specific state in the United States with respect to single-family homes, or does it probably doesn't get into whether or not that's condos. I would imagine it probably would be condos as well.
You would think, yeah. It doesn't specify in the article here, but
yeah. All right, so go.
Well, here, I'll read the headline here. Okay, so it states, the bill introduced last week would impose a 25% tax on the profits from a home resold within 3 years after it's bought. After the third year, the rate would drop to 20%. It would decline each year after until it's eliminated after 7 years. Their justification of this is that most California homeowners keep their property for 10 to 16 years, so it wouldn't affect most homeowners.
So this is California.
Man, is stupid.
Yeah, this is California.
One of the most socialist states.
Yeah, and and what is this going to do to the home market or the real estate market?
Well, it's going to make it less liquid.
Yeah.
Liquidity keeps prices down. People don't understand this. When something trades more often, it's less scarce, right?
And I'll give you guys an example of this. So in the US, they have the 1031 exchange, which is like deferred tax on moving commercial real estate. And this is one of the reasons why you do not see larger scale real estate come up available in the market in Canada, because there is no comparable, tax deferred program in Canada as there is in the United States. But in the United States, you see it like all the time. I always see property, like I'm looking at a property right now where the last owner just bought it in like 2020, August 2020. So it's like, it's only like a year and a half, like been owned by the current seller, a year and a half.
Exactly.
Like, you would never see that here.
Yeah. Like even an example here, I have a property where it's up significantly, and in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe I should sell this and take some risk off the table, get some cash on hand, whatever. And then in my mind, I'm going to get hit with a huge capital gains tax. Yeah. Why don't I just keep it and keep renting it out? Because I know it's going to be worth more in 25 years. Yeah. Right. It's still a solid store of value. So that is now one less property on the market, and that's happening. Hundreds of thousands of people across the country are thinking the same thing. So that 1030, like if I could exchange that single family home and then swap it out for even a multi-unit or something like that, I would probably do it if I could get that tax advantage. So this goes down to like this general,
and then what would happen? The value of everything would probably kind of come down a little bit. There's going to be more stock on the market, right? There's going to be more inventory.
It would trade more often. Right now, as an agent in Windsor, the problem is that there's no inventory.
Yeah.
Nobody's selling for a lot of reasons. There's tax implications for investors. There's uncertainty around what you're going to be able to get into. There's just not enough liquidity in the market. So you have everybody hoarding their houses. So
this would actually solve the problem in Canada somewhat.
It would help.
It would actually help the issue because that is a very real issue. It's not greed. It's not investors. It's not that. It's poor policies from our government. If the government would actually institute a tax where, like, again, now the government does do that on the personal level, right? But what people don't actually understand is you can't like do that perpetually in the market. People think that like in Canada, you can just live in your house for 1 year and just do that for the next 50 fucking years and not pay tax and continue to scale your home. Eventually, you do run the risk of the CRA coming down on your ass because this is not when you start to develop. The way that CRA looks at things is when you start to develop a track record of the exact same thing happening, it becomes a business.
Yeah, it raises red flags.
It raises red flags, and they're going to look at that. Okay, well, you're not actually doing this as your principal residence. You're actually doing this as like a business plan, right? There's actually like business motives behind what you're doing, and then you're going to get fucked.
Well, also the percentage of people that actually do that and trade up houses with that strategy, which is a great strategy, by the way, it's 0.05% of the people that create that liquidity. Yeah. In reality, most people just buy their house, live in it. Now, what I'm seeing now is most people don't live in their house for 20, 30 years anymore. Like that article says 10 to 16 years. That's changing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing people move within 3 to 5 years max, right?
More than likely because of what's happening in the market right now.
It's definitely part of it, but also like, what about our generation? We don't stay at the same job anymore, right? Why? Because that we're a different breed. We're not the boomers anymore. So we're in a new world where that's going to hit people's pocketbooks. The next generation that might trade in and out of properties every 3 to 5 years, they're going to end up just hoarding their property or possibly turning it into a rental.
Yeah.
So there's a great quote that I heard the other day, which is, all policy is inflationary. Okay. Every time the government comes up with a policy, it causes inflation, whether it's in layer 1, 2, or 3, right? Whether it's obvious up front or whether it hits you at 3 layers level, right? This seems like, oh yeah, it's gonna calm investors from doing flips. Okay, but it's also going to do this. It's going to create less liquidity. Then it's going to do this. And then people are going to turn those into rentals. And then down the line, 2 or 3 years, it's going to filter back through to higher real estate prices and hurting the lower end of the market again. And rich people are going to get richer. Inflation always benefits the rich people. So it's a double-edged sword, right? People are complaining about inflation right now because they don't own any assets.
Let's explain why it actually benefits rich people, because rich people have assets. That's the reason why.
Yeah, and because
it's not because they're rich, it's because they own assets.
Yes,
that is the right. That is the reason.
And assets are generally limited, right? Like, it's hard to build real estate. It's hard to buy land. Like, it's not unlimited. You could theoretically build as much housing as you can build, but it's hard to build it affordably. It's hard to get enough labor, whatever. So those limited assets, right? If there's a 2% inflation, well, that limited asset rises at double the rate of inflation because it's limited. Just like a Picasso or another limited asset. You're even seeing it in exotic cars right now, right? They're hard to get. So inflation 7%, those cards are jumping 25%. Why? Because they're limited and there's a lot of money in the world. And Nancy Pelosi, I just saw, she had an interview yesterday and they were asking her about inflation. And she said, government spending and money printing has not impacted inflation. It's all Putin and whatever else. And our policy has actually helped the American people. And the average person will probably be so stupid and not understand how money works to actually believe them. Yeah. And I don't know if she's actually stupid or ignorant or if it's a blatant lie. Probably a combination of the three.
I don't think so. I think that they're pandering to people. They know
they can't admit it.
You can't be that stupid and be at that level.
Well, here's what I understood. Like, I've been paying attention to money for a long time in the game and whatever, and I just really learned deeply about how inflation works. I read a couple books.
Yeah, but you're not fucking Nancy Pelosi.
But she doesn't. She's a politician.
Yeah, but you worked at fucking customs. Why would you have to care? Like, it's her job to understand these things. Like, they care. But I don't think anybody would be like, there's no, like, Nancy Pelosi doesn't understand. Joe Biden doesn't understand. Their policies are creating inflation. I don't
here's the thing.
agree.
Like, I always understood what inflation was, generally speaking. Okay, inflation, the rise of cost of goods over time, whatever. But I didn't understand the layers and the depths of it. I didn't understand how the money system works. I didn't understand how all these things come together to create a whole monetary system that's inflation, like the whole system structure. So I just don't know how deeply she understands it, right? Everybody knows what inflation is to a certain extent. I don't know if she knows how it works, how it impacts people, how that money printing will filter through the economy and jack the prices of assets up at 2 to 3 times the rate of the rest of the economy.
I will tell you what I think. I think they fully understand. I think it doesn't matter to them the repercussions of what they're doing, so long as what they say is still pandering to their base.
True. Yeah.
And I think they kind of roll the dice and using their poor judgment for future impact of their decisions today. That's what I think happens. I don't think at that level they don't know. Like, I think it's
somebody
next to fucking impossible for them not to understand the simple monetary economic policy of what repercussions are and how they're going to impact the country. I think
some people
it's impossible.
Actually think that the current monetary system is good and that inflation is good and necessary. And there's 2 different schools of thought. There's another side that says, no, it's not good. You could theoretically have a system that's not built on inflation, and it would be the opposite. Instead of the value of goods rising, the value of your money would rise, right? Like, just like if it was backed by gold, value of gold rises over time, so your money becomes worth more, which makes prices come down. It would be a reverse system. But there's this school of thought that now our whole world is on, which is inflation is good. Fiat money, which is just print money at will, it's backed by nothing. It's created out of thin air, and that's good. And this is what people need to understand too. The whole system is fiat, and they're always printing money. Okay, even in good years, I think the U.S. averaged about 7% more money supply per year annually. So smart people already knew this. I just learned it. I'm like, holy crap, they've been printing 7% more. Now it's 20%, by the way. 7%, if you own a limited asset, you could say, well, that limited asset is going to rise 12 to 15% then annually compound forever, because that's how the money system works. It can't work any other way. And you see that now. They're trapped. What are they going to do? Raise rates?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think that I think they just keep putting it. I think they just kind of put the policies in, and then they're like, oh shit, something happened. We got to do something else now. And then that's a poor policy. And the problem is I think one of the main issues of what continuously happens is, if they were actually to do the right thing, they would lose their base. That's the problem. Yeah, that's why they never do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because the base, it's too hard of a pill to swallow.
It's so true.
That's the problem. I think they fucking know very well. You can't. I can't imagine being at that level and them not understanding the repercussions of what they're doing. The fact of the matter is these are politicians. They want to buy votes, and the only way to do that is to pander to their base. And the base that they have,
they're more concerned with environmental issues, gender equality, racism, or whatever like the hot topic is. Not to say that none of those are important, but as long as you keep feeding them that stuff, they can be the average person can be getting destroyed by inflation.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is
the right thing would be to tame inflation, raise rates, possibly cause a deceleration or a whatever you call it, recession temporarily, while you let it correct, but that would hurt their voting, their voter base.
Exactly.
So they're better off letting inflation run.
Yeah, and then they screen all that with like those topics that you just brought up.
Yes,
like
they get people focused on that
like
stuff.
what you just said. Like it doesn't matter. Like all these like humanitarian issues. Like it's not that they're not important, but they fucking smoke show you.
Screen,
it's a smoke screen. For what they're actually doing in the back end to fuck everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's what's actually happening.
But the people don't know it.
I agree. Yeah. That's because they got the fucking smoke screen.
Exactly. You're blinded by the lights.
Exactly.
And in reality, they
get you to focus on things that us as humans, like,
you're naturally inclined to be emotional about.
They're pandering to our emotions.
And then they ramp it up, right? So you might have a base level set of emotions around it, but they like get people fired up, and then they divide everybody, and then it becomes this big thing.
It's almost like what I've started to learn is like when they really start ramping that shit up, like look for something in the background.
Well, it's usually an election.
Yeah, like look for something that you can kind of like even like capitalize on. Like there's always like there's something else going on.
Well, here's the thing: the system is set up, and it always has been. Once you understand this game, the system is always set up for asset owners to win and the rich to win. It always is. And the middle class and poor in general are distracted by the smoke screen that you mentioned. And the rich people are just like, that's somewhat important. I have my opinions on this, but I got to make my money grow. And I'm going to do that by buying these things. And really, the system either plays you or you play the system. There is no in between. You either grow your money or you lose your money. Because if you have 7% money printing a year, that makes I think it's an 85% decline in the value of your money in about 20 or 25 years or something like that. You're going to lose 85% of the value of your money over 25 years. That's why people retire and they're basically broke. Right? Like the only saving grace they generally have is their own personal residence, because that's kept pace with inflation.
Yeah, I've seen it too. People with big 3 jobs, and they just bought dumb shit the whole time.
Well, here's the thing too. Even if you save money, if you have anything generating less than 7+% returns annually, compound for 25 years, you are losing buying power because they are printing money and devaluing
at that same rate
or more in hard times like right now. So you end up retiring. You think you're rich. Oh, I got 150 grand in the bank. Okay. Well, inflation, that 150 grand is equivalent to 30 grand 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you have nothing, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, most people fall victim to this, but the key here is like, there's a game being played here. You either play the game or you get played by the game. I think, I don't know, 90% of the population is just getting played.
Yeah. I think that's even a fucking stretch. I think it's more like 99.9.
Yeah. You're debating about this stuff.
Yeah.
And these policies, they're designed to make the middle class and poor think that they're doing the right thing, but it will make those people richer. And I think that pool of rich people, percentage-wise, is shrinking, right? It's becoming ultra-rich people as a percentage of the population. Maybe it was like 20% when America was more free, and now it's becoming like 10%. And eventually it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5% of people are going to like own all the wealth. And, if you look at the Great Reset and all the stuff they talk about, which people call it a conspiracy, go on the World Economic Forum and they say you're going to own nothing and be happy, right? And what's going to happen is
a fucking thing too. It's just crazy.
It's out in the ether. It's out in the open. Like you can see it, and people are just don't want to believe
nothing
it
and be happy.
But what's going to happen is they're not going to take all your property. They're going to price you out.
Yeah.
And who's going to own it all? BlackRock.
Yeah.
A bunch of multi-millionaires. Some people that got in early enough. Like if you're early enough to the game, a decade ago, or like you're coming up to the cusp right now.
Yeah.
In Canada, the U.S. may be a little bit more behind, but they're going to own all the stuff.
Yeah.
And even first-time buyers were in this market. They're 26, 27-year-olds, just started working. They've been there for 2 years. That they'll never own a home right now, and they're making $100,000 a year. They can't even buy in Windsor.
Yeah,
like
can't even get a house.
Like they can't even get a house. They're gonna have to like work and save for 20 years or so, unless they get lucky or their parents give them money. The average person cannot buy a house in Canada already, and it's gonna get worse.
What's crazy though is like, Canada, like Windsor is by far the most, you have the best chance.
Most affordable city in Ontario, one of the most affordable in the country.
I couldn't even imagine being like fucking GTA or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's GTA single family homes just hit 2 million. That's for detached single family.
Oh my God.
2 million plus. So yeah, I mean that's going to happen all across the country. There's still some spots you can go, probably east and west, to maybe get into the market, but it's not going to be Ontario, and eventually it's not going to be anywhere. And it's been caused by government policy. And the government policy, it's almost like, I always say it's like they don't want anybody to get rich, right? Oh, these darn investors are ruining the market. And again, it's a scapegoat. And when you scapegoat, like the free market always wins, right? The free market would produce enough houses for everybody.
Yeah.
The government needs to set up a structure and get the heck out of the way and let the free market do its thing. It'll adjust itself. And that's when when you say all policy is inflationary, they keep coming in with new policies, man. Like how's your build going downtown right now? You're like, it's been a year.
Over a year,
man.
Over a year I've been trying. Man, oh man.
It's insane, man.
Yeah, I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, I had some people message me on Facebook today, 5 or 6 months. They're trying to do this bill. They can't get the permit. They can't get this, that, whatever. Like they are the problem, but you can take advantage of it.
What's crazy is I had a meeting at the golf course yesterday with somebody from head of he's the right hand man for our area's politician, federal. And they are actually putting things in place to I don't know what they're putting in place, but he said we actually recognize how shit it is.
Here's the thing, man.
He actually came out and said it's so shit and we do such a shit job and we have done such a shit job. We recognize that this is the problem.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Okay. So let's say for sure. No,
part of the problem. 100%. Right? And there's so many different.
He's right. But let's say you have a really crappy hockey team.
Yeah.
And you take a great player, right? The system's screwed up. The general manager sucks.
Yeah.
The coaches suck. The players don't play well together. You take a great player, you put him on that team. It's not going to help much. The system is the problem.
Yeah.
You take an average player, put him on a great team, he becomes above average.
Yeah.
The problem is the government system and bureaucracy, which we talk about all the time. I used to work in it.
Yeah.
You plug somebody into that, they're going to devolve into somebody that doesn't care. You're not incentivized to work. You're not incentivized to get permits put through. You're incentivized to go on leave, take vacation, play the system, do as little work as possible. You get paid the same. You can't get fired.
Yeah.
So they might have good intentions, but like you just figure this out.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna come in and fix the problem. Now this has been going on in the GTA for 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been going on out west for 20 years.
Yeah.
Nobody's been able to fix it at the government level because they keep putting in policies. In fact, I'll bet you they'll make it worse because they'll set up new departments and that'll be a whole other layer that you have to get through to even get, because they're going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
And then to even get that set up, they're going to have a year of studies, a year of meetings. Everybody will disagree. There's no decision maker. It's all politics. It's all a big corrupt game. And the thing is Canada is very political, very bureaucratic. The US used to be like, you know, the most free economically country. You could get stuff done over there. That's why it's the land of the opportunity. Obviously, that's changing. But you can see why Canada's house prices are up here and US is up a lot too, but significantly lower. It's because of government bureaucracy and the mentality of the country, which is we don't want anybody to get rich. Everybody's equal. Rich people are bad. We got to get into the market, put as many policies in, protect consumers, and they're really like backhandedly hurting them over and over again.
It's great, and that's what I mean. Like they don't see the silver lining of what they're doing.
Yeah, or
they can't see it,
or they do see it and they just blind people with smoke screens as they continue to get richer and richer, and their cronies continue to get richer and richer.
I can't imagine they don't understand it. There's got to be. I feel like there's like this fucking. This white elephant in the background that they understand is there and they want that thing to happen.
Let's say there's 100 politicians and everybody has a general understanding. There's two people that really understand it. Okay, yeah, this is really how it works. I really understand economics. I used to run a business. I used to own real estate. Like I used to do development. Like I understand how the game works. Which is pretty much none of them. None of them. You go into politics. You don't go into business and politics generally. Because they're opposing themes. The one or two people would have to convince the other 98 about how things are going to go. And those other 98,
I can't understand how
even
me and you are sitting in this podcast right now and we understand it, but I don't understand how they don't. Like I refuse to think that.
So logical. Here's one thing. Obviously,
I just think they're shit. Like they know they're just shit.
Logical,
and they know, but they know what they're doing.
Knowing something logically, book smarts. You can only get to wisdom through action.
No, what I'm trying to say is I think that there's like this ulterior motive going on. That's what I think.
Yes, but it's combined with they don't know deep. They know they have the book knowledge, but they don't have the life knowledge that lets them really understand it. Right? Like I knew what it was. Oh, I know what real estate investing is. I read a couple books. Now that I started doing it, I get it. Now I get money more. Now I get like how the game works more because I'm doing it. These people never did anything, so they might understand like, oh yeah, I know what inflation is, but they don't really get it deeply enough to like understand how to fix it. And if there's one or two people that do, there's 1,000 that don't, and they're all politicians and they're all squabbling and nothing gets done anyways. So
yeah, and that's fair, but I can't imagine that the people now are like sitting there being like, oh, I wonder what's going on. Like I wonder why this is happening. Like I can't.
But let's say Nancy Pelosi. Like let's say your business ran into hard times. Canadian Protein. Oh, we need somebody to come fix it. Well, Nancy Pelosi has a really high position. She must understand business. Let's bring Nancy Pelosi in.
That's not what I mean.
Well, it's a similar concept.
I get. Okay, so
they don't get it. They don't know.
But what I more so mean is like, hey, we're gonna develop 1.5 million homes in the next 10 years, but we're gonna bring in 400,000 people into our country. Well, what the fuck? Like
a year.
Like, that's what I mean. Like you can't not understand. Like, hey, 4 million versus 1.5. That's going to help. Like that doesn't make sense. Like
it's so true.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's simple. I'm not saying like Nancy Pelosi's not coming in here running my shit. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like
just logically.
Yeah, logically, like 1.5. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
Most people don't operate on logic. I will say this.
Scott, that's so ridiculous though. Like
no, I know. But like, honestly,
can we be serious?
Here's the thing, man. How many times have you tried to hit people with straight facts and they just go right into emotion and name calling?
What was the topic of this podcast again?
Well, government intervening in California's
I totally
market,
forgot
right?
what it was.
They're
What was it?
trying to
25%.
thinking they're doing the right thing playing politics.
Okay, so we're still kind of on it.
We're still definitely digressing, but we're still within the
We're
realm.
on it. We're still on it. All right.
But like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought there. But
Talking about like illogical people.
yeah, I mean, you can
Like how many times, like with even like the Bayview thing. Like,
oh goodness, yeah.
So even like the deal that we did in North Miami Beach. Remember, I told these fucking people, man, I'm like, listen, I know this is happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Lo and behold,
emotions took over.
Yeah, we did a market study, and we're going to be able to actually like churn the rent roll and increase it by like upwards of like $300 in rent per unit, which is kind of crazy. It's actually like overshooting what I actually initially thought. Right, I thought maybe 100, maybe 150. We're going to double it. So. And I try to tell these people, and they just don't believe it.
Well,
like, they just don't see it. Like, here's all the shit we pumped down people's throats on Instagram and the emails and all of the analytics and all the forecasting we did, and we don't even pull these.
That's
numbers.
the thing. I find the best people for investment and making money and whatever are just pure logical. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, we're all emotional creatures, but you have the ability to just say, okay, let me logically analyze this. Here, this fact, whatever. And then if you let your emotions take over, that's what happened with these particular guys. It was, well, I want to be in charge.
Oh, like, you know what we're talking about? You know what we're talking about? Yeah.
Like I want to be like I want to make the decisions. I don't feel right about like letting somebody else make the decisions. Well, that's illogical.
Is that actually what it came down to?
Well, that was one of the factors, right? There's a few. Yeah. That's illogical because you don't own anything now. Yeah. So why would you think that you're going to do a better job? So it's just not logical.
Yeah. And they honestly like. They lost like a lot of money right now. Like because
already.
Like already, like it's not even funny. Like from the point of like that deal going into or getting under contract to like when it closed, like and then to now. Like
if you had to throw a number out, how much do you think it's increased in value?
In the like 20%.
20%
I got to imagine
$8 million.
Yeah.
So you're talking 1.6 US dollars.
I got to imagine, especially the fact that like how we're gonna do it, like how we're gonna manage it, how we're gonna clean up all the financials, like they didn't like all that stuff, and if we can turn the rent roll over, like what is that number? What's that number
and
if
just
we can increase by $300.
It's insane, but because you have two things happening: rising rents and compressing cap rates across Florida. Very powerful combination.
$4 million. If we can increase, if we
execute the strategy like we think we will and can, it's a $4 million increase in value.
1 year.
In 1 year.
Yeah. If we can churn the rent roll, maybe two. If we can, it's 58 units. If we can, call it, the problem is people probably won't leave, but we could force them to leave. So
you could, I mean, whatever. If it's
we
2
don't
years,
we don't have to renew the lease. Right?
The key is to get it done within 5, right? Because that's the holding period, really. Anyways, if the rents are up in year 5, well, you can sell it at the market cap rate.
But that's only that's if we increase the rents like now to what they should be, which is like $1,700.
Right.
They're at like 12 and 13. So that's not like anywhere from like $1,250 to $1,400. So if we do that now over the course of like 1 to 2 years, and then also tack on like 5 to 10% because of how fast the market's moving, then like we're gonna double. We're gonna be that property will be worth fucking double.
What do you if that was on the market right now? What cap rate do you think it would be listed at?
5, maybe
5
even
cap.
less. Yeah,
and we got
maybe
it for
5,
6.5,
6.5.
So 1.5% cap. Like 1.5.
Maybe what was it? Maybe a 6. Maybe
call it low
6.
Call it 1%.
6.05. I think.
Call it a 1% cap rate decline.
Yeah,
that's significant, man. 1%
very significant
of the net operating income is
around 20%,
and that's just the market becoming more competitive and investors willing to pay more for the cash flow and the net operating income. Which that this is the first year of our thesis. I think it's going to get worse. There's tons of people moving to Florida still. So
like Florida is becoming the Windsor of the US. Like we're the exact same shit.
For sure.
When I first started doing that deals in Florida were a dime a dozen. Like from the point of time that I got that deal under contract to the point of time I closed it, there was nothing left. Like in that short of a period of time, it was, I shouldn't say nothing left.
Nothing at those returns.
Nothing at those returns even. Like now we're starting to see 3.5%, 4% cap rates. And that's just now you're buying for, borderline appreciation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're hoping that now you have to buy not based off cash flow. You have to buy based off of, hey, the market's so hot, it's going to keep going. Cause like the cash flow is, it's borderline. And then the problem too is like, the banks won't leverage, right?
That's a good point too. Yeah.
The banks won't leverage because it won't cash flow as high, right? So so you're going to be like, 60-40 down or 70-30 down. So you're not going to be able to leverage as much as you can with your capital. So you got to go elsewhere.
It was a huge deal. So if we had to summarize like the key takeaways here, one for me is obviously, again, all policy is inflationary every time.
Yeah.
So that's one. Any thoughts on your end, just to help people get this proper mindset of how to operate in this? When they see policies like this, a lot of people get scared.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're going to tax the investors. Investors better sell everything, right? Like, I'm not going to operate in that market.
Yeah. I had actually a conversation with somebody that actually was like Thursday or something like that. And he was worried about like the war going on right now. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not really like, I'm not worried about the war or anything like that. But like, I don't think that like, it's going to like tank real estate anytime soon.
Theoretically, it's an inflationary force.
Exactly. Like that's what I was actually trying to explain to him. I was like technically when you have like this kind of thing happen, I think the prices are going to increase actually. I truly do, because like there's like anytime like this kind of thing has happened, like the inflation has like skyrocketed post war or whatever. Right. And you're going to see like, you're going to see assets like skyrocket again.
When the price of oil goes up, it impacts literally the price of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shipping, logistics,
of course,
materials, everything's shipped from all around the world.
For sure.
Like everything's going to get higher.
Yeah.
Which means the replacement cost of your property is going to be higher. Yeah. Which means the value of your current property is going to be higher.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
And like I don't know, like I don't even know like what would be. So Russia bombs some cities in the US. Like, say hypothetically speaking, obviously that'd be fucking devastating, but like, I don't know, there's going to be less houses. Like I don't know, like wouldn't that be the case? Like, I don't know.
Yes, you believe this guy?
But like, think about it,
spins
right?
it positive.
I
know what you mean.
You know what I mean, right? Like, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong?
Like, and that I do agree. Like, if you I don't think
I'm wrong.
Yeah. So like for me, honestly, I try to, everything I look at, I find the positive in it. There's always a positive. And if you can find the positive, you can profit off of it. If I find people, they look at everything as negative, everything. Okay. Every policy is negative. Everything that's negative, I'm going to sell because of this. And they're always like, how can you build a portfolio and continue to stack properties or assets if you're always negative about the market and everything else?
Yeah.
So I always find a positive in everything, right? Like that policy there. Okay. What's the positive? Okay, Russia bombs Ukraine or the US or whatever the case is. What's the positive here? Because you have to be to make moves, right? Or you're going to be scared out of the market forever. Yeah. And I think most people are.
And that's what I told this guy. He's like, I keep on bringing up this scenario, right? Like we have a couple friends that have been wanting to get into the real estate market for 15 years. Like I remember at the point in time when I said I was going to get into it, and they also said they were going to get into it. And then, I'm hundreds of units later in the same amount of time, and they're one.
Seriously.
You know what I mean? Like seriously,
one,
or none.
Or their personal residence, and that's it, yeah.
Yeah, so, and the entire time, they've always, hey, this isn't the right time. I'm trying to get this. What about this happening? What if this happens because of 2008? What if this happens now because of the war? What if this happens because of COVID? What if this happens because of this? And I'm just like, I can't help. I can't. I don't know. I don't.
No,
care.
I remember these conversations. I have so many of them because I work with a lot of investors. But it's like literally a battle of minds, and it's like my mind trying to spin things positively because I believe over 25 years everything's going to work out and prices will be higher. And I'm battling just a negative mindset of all the what ifs and the negativity, and this is going to happen, and rates are going to, and this has been going on for a decade straight, right? Like the negative mindset all the while prices are going up, and it's like I have to change their shitty mindset because it's negative, and all they see in everything is negativity, and when you're only negative, you can't see the positive. So of course I see both sides, but you can't operate on the negative. I think you have to operate on the positive. Of
course.
I think like you've been doing that, I don't know, consciously or subconsciously, you just always seem to be buying and making moves, right? Like relatively, like
either it's because I'm
stupid.
No, I remember. Maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I am.
It's probably better.
Maybe I am oblivious and stupid to what's going on in the market.
It would be better than being negative.
No, I'm kidding. But
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't look. I buy for
fundamentals.
Yeah. Regardless of what's going on in the market,
cash flow, location.
Yeah.
Long-term trajectory. What's the immigration targets? Is the population growing?
Yeah.
What's the population going to be in 30, 40 years?
And there's actually even certain things that there's even this is probably another topic for another podcast, but there's even certain scenarios that I would actually buy not based off of those fundamentals.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do a separate topic on that. Yeah. And I would agree as well in certain scenarios. Yeah. As long as you're not like over leveraging yourself or in a situation where you might be forced to sell or something.
Sure.
But
I mean, like I always kind of like leave people with this whenever they paint like a doom and gloom kind of scenario, like this one particular person, like the last thing I said to him was, and we'll cut the podcast here.
Love it.
I told him in 2008 when the market crashed, like it was like, within our lifetime, the worst financial and real estate crisis we've ever seen. The entire United States, nationally, home values only decreased by 8%.
Seriously.
Like 8%
Seriously.
Like that's not even enough to talk about.
It's a blip. It's a couple year blip that if you were smart enough to take advantage of it, not over leverage yourself where you had to like just fire sale everything.
8%.
Yeah.
That's $80,000 on $1 million property. It's not even like 100%. What are we talking about here?
And if you bought properly during the run up to 08, you're probably fairly well positioned to even take advantage of the crash.
Yeah.
So,
and then, it was only a couple years really. It was like, call it even 5 years, which it arguably wasn't. It was a 5-year decline and then right back up even higher.
For sure. And let's take another angle here on the positive side.
I said we're done.
Too bad.
I'm just kidding.
1 point. So,
okay, go.
So over like, let's say an investor was in the market from 2000 to 2008. You just got 8 years of experience.
Yeah.
8 years of learning the market, 8 years of making relationships with lenders and everybody else that you need, contractors. And then that crash comes. And if you have the right mindset, it's like, let's go to work, right? Let's buy these assets at a discount. The guy that's been sitting on his couch from 2000 to 08, like, you think he's suddenly going to jump into the market at the worst time possible? No. He's not. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah, and I saw that too. Like, everybody thought I was like fucking crazy for buying then. Like, crazy for buying then. And then now, people are like, oh, fuck, you're lucky. Yeah, you're lucky, man. I'm like, okay. You wouldn't have done shit, buddy. You wouldn't have done shit. Yeah.
Over and over again. Exactly. So, yeah, let's wrap it up there, man.
Yeah.
And then, okay, remember that topic for the next one too.
Yeah.
I want to hit on that.
Yeah.